Welcome to Paradigm Conversations. I am your host, Quinina Sentinel, and I am so grateful to have you join me as we seek to grow in God. Set your notifications and let's dive in. Let's talk about options. So in Luke chapter 6, we deal with the account of Jesus, and he's about to pick his disciples. Well, not just his disciples, he's about to pick his apostles. So we start at Luke chapter 6, verse 12. It says, "Now it came to pass in those days that he went out to the mountain to pray and continued all night in prayer to God. And when it was day, he called his disciples to himself, and from them he chose 12, whom he also named apostles." So options. What do we do when we have options? Sometimes we have all these options going on. Do we work here? Do we work there? Do we take this job? Do we take that job? Do we apply for the promotion? Do we start this business? Do we choose this spouse or this person? Do we, just decisions. Do we buy this house or do we not buy this house? Do we rent or do we buy? Do we invest in stock or do we not invest in stock? Do we make decisions for our parents? If they're elderly, do we put them here? Do we put them there? Do we take care of them? Do we do this? Decisions about children. There are so many options. We have options galore to choose from, right? So how do we choose the best option? Well, I think from a practical standpoint, we can look at this account and see just how he processed choosing his options. And so one of the things that stood out to me was in verse 13, it says, "And when it was day, he called his disciples to himself." Now, this is after he went into the mountain to pray. So when it was time to make a decision, he separated himself. And then while he was separated, he took the time to pray. So that means during the separation, he didn't have any outside voices. He didn't have any outside influences. He went away for himself, by himself, out to the mountain to pray. And he stayed there all night in prayer. I believe he stayed there till he got an answer. So he prayed, which means he consulted with God. He talked to God. He conferred with God. He listened for God's answer. He listened for the discernment. And then that time that he spent with God gave him the ability to then say, okay, so I have these disciples. Y'all come see. So he calls his group. He has a group of men who are already disciples. And then that verse 13 says, and from them he chose 12. So out of the group of men that he had, he chose 12 out of that group. So that again says that the benefit of spending that time in prayer, the benefit of separating, going into the mountain, pulling away for silence and solitude and just gathering himself, gave him the discernment that he needed to talk to the Father so that the Father can release information and intel that he did not have. So when you don't know which option to choose, you're in essence in a place to where you're in need of intel. You need to understand, if I choose this person, will they turn on me? If I go this route, will they fire me in 6 months to a year? If I go this route, should I play the long game? Should I play the short game? Getting that intel, that information in prayer is a place that only you can get it, because only God knows all things. He's all knowing. He's all seeing. So he can see farther than you can see. So that's why you spend that time in prayer. His thoughts are higher than your thoughts, and his ways are higher than your ways. So if you're going through a season to where you have all these options and you need to figure out which way to go or what his will is, separate. Go out into the mountain. The mountain just means he goes into a higher place. He goes into a place of solitude, a place of thin air. There's a place of thin air, and there's this, saying that a lot of preachers talk about, and that a lot of preachers brought out in sermons is that snakes can't handle a particular altitude. So the reason why eagles, they'll take a snake and they'll carry him up high into the sky is because it suffocates him. So the higher you go, the more you suffocate that sound, the more you stifle, the more you kill the noise of what the enemy may be trying to say to you, to steer you into the wrong direction, into making the wrong decision. So that is the purpose for you ascending into the mountain. Who shall ascend into the hills of the Lord? He that has clean hands and pure heart. So out of your clean hands and out of your pure heart of just wanting to do the will of God, you ascend in prayer. And when you ascend, you then get released and you then become privy to intel that you would not have had not the Holy Spirit spoken it to you. So Jesus comes down and then he's able to say, look at his crew. Say, okay, you're an apostle, one. You come with me. Matthew, you come with me. Philip, okay, you come with me. James, come on. Matthew, Thomas. He started to pull them. Even James and Judas, y'all come with me. So God gave him a strategic plan as to who to choose for the will that is to be carried out that God intended. So what do you do when you have options? Again, ascend into the mountain to pray and let God give you the wisdom, because Holy Spirit is here to teach you, because he knows all things. And he knows all things because it is the Father who gives him that information. And it is a blessing to hear from the Holy Spirit, because he wishes above all things that you prosper. So I hope you choose wisely. Have a good day. And this concludes our Paradigm Conversation for today. I am your host, Quinina Cincinnati. Thank you for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. I pray it was a blessing to you as well. If you would, just go ahead and click the like, share, subscribe, or follow button, depending on the type of media that you are tuning in from. Thank you for being a part of the community of Paradigm Conversations. Have a wonderfully blessed and amazing day.